What's happening? How's everybody doing this evening? I'm doing quite well. If I'm going to be 100% completely honest, I'm doing pretty good. See you later. Alright, I'm driving. I gotta put the phone down. Oh, watch out there, buddy. Stay in one lane. We go look like Urban Meyer. I think that was Urban Meyer. Driving in 2 lanes in his electric vehicle. Speaking of, was that Urban Meyer? I miss Urban Meyer. That's the old Ohio State football coach. Now we got Ryan Gay. He got nipple rings. That's an abomination. Woody Hayes would have ripped that nipple ring out of there. Get out of here. That dude's gay. They ruined college football. I'm not talking about football. I'm talking about Jesus, baby. I'm talking about the Bible. That's all I like talking about. I should do other videos. Actually, I might buy some sports cards today. I just did a whole bunch of work. I got, you know what I'm saying? I got a little extra cash, baby. Might have to go get some of them baseball or basketball cards. Really hard to find basketball cards, though. Because everybody's trying to get those Cooper Flag rookie cards. Hey, my Cooper Flag rookie cards are outperforming my stocks by a wide margin. Okay? Those are like... I like 10 times my money. Well, I haven't sold you. I'm not selling for another 20 years. So hopefully Cooper Flag doesn't have any career-ending injuries or my investments are gone. All right, I'm talking about the book of Revelation. It's very important. So why do I want to talk about the book of Revelation? And I titled the video, it's so hot I had to roll the window down. I titled the video, The Book of Revelation is for Crazy People, because there's always a bunch of crazy whack jobs and lunatics trying to predict the end of the world by using the Book of Revelation. They're going to give you an exact date and everything, like that Harold Camping guy. There's all kinds of people to do it. They're going to try to predict the date of the end of the world. All right. But I was just listening to Bart Ehrman. Bart Ehrman was on Dan McClellan's channel. Now, I'm a big Bart Ehrman fan. Big fan. Not so much of Dan McClellan, because he's a liberal. I don't have any problem with liberals. That's not what... I have a problem with the outspoken liberals who makes everything about their liberalisms. Look, everything ain't about you being a liberal. I don't want to hear it. Okay? Stop trying to twist everything to your agenda. I don't want to hear it, Dan McClellan. Okay? Like the liberal Christians, they'll use Jesus as an excuse to ship in Africans and Hindus, millions of them. They'll say Jesus would want you to take in billions of Africans into your country. That's the Good Samaritan. That's the devil. That's what a Jew would say. Taking Jesus' teachings out of context. But anyway, another thing about the book of Revelation, it allows people to present to you a false version of Jesus. Because what did Jesus teach, guys? Jesus taught peace and love. It's like not rocket science. Jesus said to love your neighbor. Love your neighbor. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right? The golden rule. So you want to treat people. You want to treat people better than yourself, actually. Put other people before yourself. You know, the greatest thing a friend can do is lay down his life for his friends type deal. So Jesus taught nothing but pure wholesomeness. Jesus was pure and wholesome. All right. He taught love and peace. He clearly taught peace. Jesus did not teach us to be violent. What happened when Peter cut someone's ear off? He rebuked him. And then he healed the man's ear. What happened when James and John asked Jesus? They asked him to rain fire down on heaven on some Samaritans like Elijah did. James and John, they asked Jesus, he's like, why don't you just rain fire down from heaven on these goofy ass Samaritans? They talking trash. Rain fire on these fools. And Jesus rebuked them sharply. He's like, you don't know what spirit you're of. You do not know what spirit you're in. All right, when people try to use Elijah, Christians, they think Elijah was a great man for killing all the priests of Baal. No, Jesus said that's wrong. That's the wrong spirit. You're not supposed to just murder and kill people to prove that your God is the best and prove you're more righteous. That's not the answer. That's not the way. That's the ways of the dark side and the dark evil Sith Lord and Emperor Palpatine and the devil and Satan, Beelzebub. That's the ways of the dark side of the devil. All right. Oh, somebody has a different religion than me. They worship a different God. I think I'm going to murder them. All right, you are of your father, the devil. All right, you're going to burn in hell. That's what's going to happen to you. But anyway, so all these Christians that want to try to present to you a violent Jesus, because Christians all over the internet, I mean, people are not doing so well, especially like the white men and the right wing. You know, we know there's an attack on white people and all that stuff. We know there's an attack on Christianity by the Jews to control everything. We know they're attacking Christianity. So people are taking all this hatred and they want to get revenge. Look, the God of revenge is the God of the Jews. The Jews worship the God of revenge. Okay? That's what the Jews, they're all revenge. Genesis 12:3 says, curse those that curse thee. You know, that's one of the top teachings in the Old Testament. One of the top principles of Judaism is bless those that bless you, but curse those that curse you. So if anybody curses you, you curse them back. And matter of fact, you pay them back sevenfold. Or double. You give them paying back double. Reward them double, actually, is what it says a lot of times. Reward them double. So if somebody curses you, you don't just curse them back. You curse them back twice as bad. That's the teachings of Judaism. That's Judaism 101. A lot of Christians don't even understand this. That's all right. That's why I'm here, baby. All right, so curse those that curse thee. That's what Jews teach. Curse everybody. Destroy all your enemies. The book of Psalms 139 verse 22 says to hate your enemies with a perfect hatred. So all that hateful killing, that's all the Old Testament. Now I said that the book of Revelation is a heavily Judaized book. It's very Judaized. And that's why all that violent stuff is in there. That's why he speaks of the 144,000 of the 12 tribes of Israel. It's very Judaized. And it doesn't even have all the tribes of Israel. It's missing Ephraim. It don't even say Ephraim. It says Joseph. It ain't got all the tribes. They don't have all the tribes. Where's the tribe of Dan at? Because they had to keep it to 12 tribes to make it match the zodiac. But we're not allowed to talk about that, so I'm just going to continue on. We're just going to ignore that part. All right, we're going to ignore that part, guys, because the Old Testament is on that number 12 too. But whatever, I'm going to ignore that part. But the book of Revelation is very Jewy, and people think that it was written by the Apostle John. It was not. When you read all the early church fathers, a lot of people argue about who wrote the book of Revelation. Some people say it was written by the elder John, and they'll tell you, oh, that was a different John that wrote that. So you have all kinds of Christians today erroneously teaching that we know for sure that the Apostle John wrote the book of Revelation while in prison on the Isle of Patmos. You don't know that. That's always been disputed. And the authorship of the book of Revelation has always been in dispute. That book has always been controversial all the way through the entire history of Christianity. The book of Revelation has always been controversial. Always. There's always been a question mark beside it. But I was listening to Bart Ehrman. He said this makes sense too. He said one of the main reasons that the book of Revelation made it into the official canon is because it explicitly states that Jesus is God. He is the Alpha and the Omega. So I can see why they put that in there. And another thing, Bart, he'll bring some stuff up to make some sense. He brought up another fact that the book of Revelation seemed to be too materialistic for a lot of early Christians, because Christianity is very anti-materialistic by design. My kingdom is not of this world. Lay not riches up on earth. Lay your riches up in heaven, not on earth, right? We know Jesus is anti-materialistic. In contrast to the Jews, Judaism is ultra-materialism, hyper-materialism. That's what, hyper-materialism. That's Judaism. Yahweh rewards you with riches. All right, but because the Revelation, it tells you about the kingdom of heaven. The streets are paved with gold and all these rubies and jewels and diamonds. And it even you could say it's just a poetic speech, but I can see how that could turn some early Christians off. That seems like a lavish palace. It sounds like Yahweh. It's a little too Yahwistic. You know what I'm saying? A little too materialistic. Hey, even building a temple for God. Building a temple for God, that's very materialistic. All right, the New Testament and Jesus teaches us that we are the temple. We don't need a physical temple. People who think they need a physical temple, they're in that materialistic retard state of mind, because God doesn't need a house. We're the house. He lives inside of us. All right? And then there's no God going inside those temples. All right, that's ridiculous. And you don't have to feed God bulls and goats either. They made that up. The real God never told anyone to build a house. The real God never told anybody to feed them bulls and goats. The priest made that up. Okay? They made it all up, guys. We're going to have to come to grips with that fact. But so the book of Revelation, it is kind of material. I guess I could see that angle a little bit. How, early Christians didn't like it because they were anti-materialistic. Yet the book of Revelation speaks of this grand kingdom, And it makes it seem like the kingdom's going to be on earth as well. Well, at the same time, Christianity teaches us to love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Lay not your riches on earth. So I do see how the book of Revelation is in opposition to a lot of Jesus's teachings. I do see that. Like the violence of Jesus. There's a very violent Jesus depicted in the book of Revelation. Like, doesn't he say he's going to murder Jezebel or something? He compares somebody to Jezebel. He's like going to murder her while she's on her bed having sex with somebody or something. It's like Jesus is just like straight going to kill everybody in the book of Revelation. It's just not the Jesus that we see in the Gospels. It's a totally different character. This is like the evil Anakin Jesus. In the book of Revelation, it's the Jesus, the guy that holds some red kryptonite Jesus. That's the crazy Jesus. But anyway, anytime Christians, they try to present to you a violent Jesus, and they try to justify their violent actions with the Bible, they'll usually use the Old Testament or the book of Revelation. You can't use the Gospels. The only time Jesus ever does anything violent in the Gospels, he turns over the money changers' tables and he whips them. And they had it coming. Sometimes you do gotta whoop someone's ass. I ain't gonna lie, guys. They had it coming. What we going, And he didn't kill him. He didn't kill him. He just gave him a little ass whooping and sent him on their way. And then he probably prayed for him. You know what I'm saying? They was in there taking advantage of people. So you just gonna let drug dealers and robbers just stay up on the corner? No, you gonna run them off the corner. Hey, he was running them off the corner, keeping the community safe. But so I argue with Christians a lot, and they always want Jesus to be violent. I used to be like that, because I was confused about the New Testament versus the Old Testament, and I just realized you just have to get rid of the Old Testament completely, then it all comes together. And Jesus does not smash babies. Jesus does not genocide. I'm sorry, guys, it just ain't true. Jesus is pure and wholesome. He's pure and he's wholesome. Okay? Oh, that stuff, don't be a menace while drinking gin in the... Bro, I wish I had my camera on. This dude's hair looks exactly like the hair... What that Wayans brothers? Well, he had that crazy ass hairdo on Don't Be a Menace while drinking gin and juice in the hood or whatever. I'm sorry, I should have had my camera on. I should have flipped it on. I was slipping. But anyway, so yeah, so Jesus taught a doctrine of peace. He taught peace and love, guys. And he whipped people with a whip one time. But you go to the book of Revelation, he's killing every goddamn buddy. Everybody getting it. Getting burned up in the presence of the Lamb and the angels. He's gonna burn you up with fire. But that doesn't correlate, that doesn't match up with what Jesus said earlier in the Gospels. Because James and John wanted to rain fire on people, and Jesus said no. But in Revelation, Jesus himself wants to rain fire. So what Jesus we gonna follow, guys? We're gonna follow the Jesus who rains fire and brimstone on everybody? Or we're gonna follow the Jesus of love, the Jesus in the Gospels? Okay, I thought fire and brimstone came from the devil. That's Yahweh in the Old Testament. That's why Moses has horns. Do you guys know Moses has horns? How come Moses, he grew horns? Moses has horns, bro. Like, whoa, why does the devil have horns, bro? That's so crazy to me. It's like, I didn't make that up. I didn't carve that Moses statue at the Vatican and put the horns on it. I didn't make it say in the Old Testament the Moses horned. It says Moses horned. Whatever, they grew horns. His face horned. It says Moses' face horned. It's shown in the book of in the King James. Shut up, bitch. In the King James Bible says Moses' face shone. What was that, Exodus 34 or something? Somewhere around there? It's been a minute since I read it. Oh, man, it's so freaking hot. It's like hot and humid and sticky today, bro. So gross and disgusting outside. I feel like a disgusting, slimy snail, like leaving a trail of ooze behind me when I walk. But yeah, Moses has horns, guys. Please, somebody explain to me why Moses... I thought only the devil had horns. And how come Moses was accusing people? He accuses you with that law. And then it says Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people, guys. I don't know about that. So, the book of Revelation is pretty Jewy. Moses is pretty Jewy. And I just stay away from the Jew stuff. And that's a pretty good... Look, I like to play it safe. You know what I'm saying?